guys! This week I am doing my top 10 favorite stories from New Doctor Who. It started in 2005, 10 years ago. Here are my top 10 favorite stories. So two-parters or, multi-part stories. I counted them as one story instead of counting each episode differently. It's just really hard to count them separately. Yeah. Let's get started. At number 10, I have The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances, written by Steven Moffat. They feature the 9th Doctor and Rose, and it's the first time we meet Captain Jack. So, yes. I mean, there's way more to the episode than just Captain Jack, but I love seeing the Blitz. Not that the Blitz is like an awesome part of history, but just to see how it actually was for somebody living through it and some of the more complexities of it, like the lost children who are traveling around and just eating food off people's tables because they're starving. Of course, The Empty Child is really, really creepy, and the "Are You My Mummy" joke. I love the music in it. I love swing music, so I loved seeing, or I guess not seeing, but hearing Glenn Miller and hearing Moonlight Serenade and In the Mood, and getting to see the Doctor dance with Rose. Captain Jack being a con artist and just seeing his charm and cockiness, and he thinks they're time agents, and Rose has no idea what that is, and she's attached to a barrage balloon in the middle of the London Blitz, wearing a shirt with the Union Jack on it. That's exactly where you want to be during the Blitz, right? And the phone that rings, that the TARDIS telephone isn't supposed to work, and everybody lives. Just once, everybody lives. And Steven Moffat kept his word. Kind of sad about that part, though. Clearly, people can live in other episodes. Yay. Okay, episode 9, Fires of Pompeii, written by James Moran. It is series 5, episode 2. It's the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble, and we also get to see Peter Capaldi and Karen Gillan before the 12th Doctor and Amy Pond, so yay. My personal headcanon, of course, is that 12 went back in time and is just joking around with 10, because wouldn't you mess around with yourself if you had a time machine? And the line about the TARDIS being modern art, of course. Obviously, the TARDIS is just so pretty. Why wouldn't you want to have a TARDIS in your house? Clearly, I have several. I love the 10th Doctor fighting down the pyrovirals with a water pistol. Of course, there's Donna's general sassiness and getting to see Pompeii, and Donna convincing the Doctor to just save somebody, and just that desperation in her voice. But it's so well played, and it's a great episode. Obviously, it's on my list. Okay, number 8. Utopia, Sound of Drums, Last of the Time Lords, written by Russell T Davies. They make up the end of Series 3. They are episodes 11 through 13. They star the 10th Doctor, Martha Jones, and Captain Jack. And we get to see the Master! Yes! It is the first time the Master appears in New Who. It's also the first time that I saw the Master. I love the Master's just insanity. Yes. And we get this peek at the Doctor's past, which we don't get to see very often, especially in New Who, because the Doctor doesn't like to talk about Gallifrey. But to see him confronted with the Master and how desperately Ten wants the Master to just, let's go back to being best friends again and go travel, and it'll be okay, and how desperately he wants that. It's heartbreaking. The Yana storyline. So in Series 2, we're introduced to the Face of Bo, and his last words are, "You are not alone." And then it appears several other times, but the climax of it is when Professor Yana realizes that he's the Master, and that Yana stands for "You are not alone." And I love that, and it's also kind of a reoccurring theme throughout all of New Who. The Doctor thinks he's the last of the Time Lords, and even all the way up through Series 8, the Doctor's like, "Oh, I don't have, there's no other Time Lords," and he's moody about it, but every time he meets another Time Lord, or he meets his companions, or just everything is about, I think the whole of New Who is the Doctor struggling with how alone he feels versus how he actually is surrounded by all these companions, all these races that he saved, and he's not alone. He has the TARDIS, if nothing else. And even we see the Master reappearing. So yeah, you are not alone. I like seeing Martha kind of take charge and have her own moment to shine, where she gets to be the hero. Martha takes charge and is like, yeah, I'm awesome and amazing on my own, and I can save the world without traveling in the TARDIS and without being treated as if I were a second choice, I guess. Like, the whole time, the whole series 3, the Doctor is moping about having lost Rose, and Martha's sick of being the rebound. The way she walked away from the Doctor, the Master's wife, but watching Lucy at the end kind of is the one who finally takes him down, that Lucy's the one who finally shoots the Master, and she takes control of her own life. Number 7, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, written by Chris Chibnall. It is Series 7, Episode 2, and it's the 11th Doctor, and Amy and Rory, and we see Rory's dad, and Queen Nefertiti of Egypt, and the hunter dude, played by Rupert Graves. Who is the hunter dude? I don't remember his name. But how could that combination of Team TARDIS plus dinosaurs on a spaceship not have been amazing? It was awesome. I love the Silurians, like the Silurian arc and them trying to save the last of the dinosaurs. And the struggle the Doctor has with the humans who are like, look, we gotta save our planet. And the Doctor's like, just give me more time. I can save all of you. Which he does, because he's the Doctor and it's awesome. Of course, my favorite dinosaur on the spaceship is Tracy. And I loved watching them play fetch with a dinosaur using golf balls. And there's a scene with the Doctor and the Doctor's Christmas list. And, just that the Doctor has a Christmas list is awesome. And Rory's dad carrying around the troll. Brian carrying around a troll in his pocket. Like, who doesn't have a shovel everywhere they go? Duh. I love it. Yes, it was just a great episode. Number 6 is Listen, written by Steven Moffat. It is Series 8, Episode 4. Listen features the 12th Doctor and Clara. We see the Doctor facing his fears head on, and a lot of times the Doctor kind of plays it off as if he's not afraid of anything and just kind of swaggers on. But in this episode, he's like terrified. Like, he's absolutely convinced that there are things out there going to kill him. And seeing his just wrestle with that, because he never does that plainly. This is his childhood nightmare. And we get to see the Doctor as a child, and we sort of get to see Gallifrey in this tiny barn. But we get so few glimpses of the Doctor's past, and I think this is the first time where we really see him as a child. Like, we hear about his childhood with the Master, but actually to see him as a child was awesome. So, how Clara influences Danny, and the line about a soldier so brave he can take down an entire army without a gun or something. So yeah, the toy soldier thing that reappears throughout the series was awesome. I like the opening sequence. Seeing the Doctor on top of the TARDIS was visually stunning and an amazing shot. And I loved watching him use the chalkboard and just the revamped TARDIS, like getting to see more of it. Number 5 is School Reunion by James Hawes. It is Season 2, Episode 3. It has the 10th Doctor, Rose, Mickey, Sarah Jane, and K9. I love Sarah Jane. I loved watching The Adventures of Sarah Jane. And yes, this episode was the first time I saw Sarah Jane. And it is what got me watching classic Doctor Who, because I wanted to know more about her and her story. The conversation Sarah Jane has with the other participants in the story, the conversation she has about the Doctor, about how he left her and how her life has moved on, and how she encourages Mickey, and especially the conversation she has with Rose about what it means when the Doctor's no longer there and how you go on with your life and appreciate it while you can. Yeah, Sarah Jane is just so wise. I love Elizabeth Sladen's acting. Yep. And K9. I love K9. The Krillitine are cool. They're like gargoyle creatures. And the school setting. And the kids get to save the day. So you have all these adults. Like, this all-star lineup of the adults, but the kids also play a major part in saving the day, and that is fantastic. Number 4, Dark Water and Death in Heaven, written by Steven Moffat. They are series 8 episodes 11 and 12. They are the 12th Doctor, Clara, Danny, and Missy / the Master. Oh, I've told you how much I love the Master already, but seeing the Master generate into Missy, how they just, it's cool. How it's just okay, the Master's a woman, and we're just gonna go with it. We don't need to see the Master generate. I thought that was totally fine. It was actually probably better than hanging up on some death scene that we didn't need to see. And it provided more time for just exploring the whole character. Michelle Gomez just taking the role and just going with, the complete and total insanity of the Master's character. I love the Cybermen. I love seeing Unit again. And yeah, the Doctor gets to become the president of Earth. And just pushing everything to that extreme. It literally is life and death in this story. And so everything, Clara's emotions and having Clara's emotions when she loses Danny, and how Danny reacts to his death, and just getting to explore all of that, getting to see Osgood's death, but also the Master's complete insanity and how she's reveling in killing somebody, and of course the Doctor reacting to all of this. Just all the emotions are just heightened, and it's all kind of why I love science fiction, is that you push everything to the extreme, and then we bring out of that extreme truths about death and life, and this episode definitely did that. Okay, number 3, The Doctor's Wife, written by Neil Gaiman. It is series 6, episode 4. It features the 11th Doctor, Amy, Rory, and the TARDIS in the form of Idris. The TARDIS becomes a woman, actual flesh body, and can talk. It's so exciting. Yes. In full disclosure, I ship the Doctor and the TARDIS. So, clearly, I love this episode. Yeah. I love watching the Doctor and the TARDIS actually get to communicate and hash things out. Get to actually talk about their travels and sort of see them communicate what they actually mean to each other. The TARDIS talking about how she picked the Doctor and how well they fit together. Whenever the TARDIS would appear somewhere the Doctor didn't want it to, it was oh, cool, the spaceship has control of where they're going. And getting to see the TARDIS actually confirm that, so that's canon now. And the whole story in late of this episode becomes the story of not just the Doctor, but the Doctor and the TARDIS's journey together, and how they are both exploring the universe, and they're change each other. And I also like the way that the TARDIS doesn't see time in a linear fashion, because she can see all of time and space happening at once, so everything that has happened and will happen and is happening, and of course she does. Why wouldn't she see everything happening at once? She can see all of time and space. So yay. What else? Really the heart of this episode is watching the Doctor and the TARDIS together. And Amy and Rory together running through the TARDIS and what they're willing to go through for each other. And when Amy and Rory get lost inside the TARDIS and separated and House is messing with them. So that whole emotional journey. But honestly, it's the Doctor and the TARDIS. And the TARDIS kisses the Doctor and then bites him. Yay. Yeah, I just love watching the Doctor and the TARDIS finally get to understand each other. Yeah. That whole line that I may not have... you didn't always take me where I needed to be. Or I wanted to go, but I always took you where you needed to go. That whole conversation they have. And the way they have to learn to trust each other, which is kind of an odd concept because they do trust each other. Out of this, I loved watching it actually play out and actually be a thing. So, yes, it's brilliantly written and it's amazing, and I love the idea that the TARDIS can talk. And not just that the TARDIS talks like some computer, like HAL or something that has a voice, but actually not Hal, maybe Hal, but like it's not just a computer that can talk, but the TARDIS is actually like feeling emotions and what it's like to be in a body for the first time, and to have that whole experience. Yes, and the psychic link, like the TARDIS communicates psychically, which was something I guess I kind of assumed, but actually to have that brought out, so yay. Number 2, Vincent and the Doctor, written by Richard Curtis. It is season 5, episode 10. It has the 11th Doctor, Amy, and Vincent Van Gogh. Yay! Vincent Van Gogh was already my favorite painter going into this episode, so to see it was it was awesome to see his life story. And I like the fact that the cinematography of this episode, the entire episode plays out, like the color schemes and everything, it looks like a Van Gogh painting. Everything from the opening sequence of the field, to seeing the dilapidated church, to the museum, to Van Gogh's actual house. Like all the colors and the lighting, the way they contrast, and yay. And of course the scene where they're laying on their backs looking at the stars and we start seeing swirls from Starry Night, and it really is a Van Gogh painting then. And to see all his work kind of just there in his house, just like willy-nilly, was awesome. I love the way the episode looks going into it, first of all. I love the story of Van Gogh's life and exploring his depression in a way that isn't actually kind of depressing to watch, which is a really hard line to do, that there's still hope in it. So I liked that perspective. I liked seeing Van Gogh actually getting to see his work being appreciated in the museum at the end, which is something he didn't get in his lifetime, but to have that small wish fulfillment in this episode. And of course the scene in the end with the museum, just watching that episode, like those 5 minutes by themselves can make me cry like crazy. So whenever I feel like I have to cry, I just go watch those 5 minutes of that episode, and I am like good. Whatever's in the eye is gone. But of course I watch it more than just to cry. The whole part where Amy can't remember Rory, but she knows she's lost something, that was heartbreaking and deep. And how desperately the Doctor's trying to protect her. What else happened in this episode? The monster in the episode that isn't really trying to terrorize everybody, just can't see, and it's really hungry, and I just feel so sorry for it. Like, poor blind, invisible, hungry monster. Yep. Honorable mentions on this list go to Night of the Doctor, written by Steven Moffat, and it stars the 8th Doctor. Yep, Paul McGann gets to regenerate. It's only 4 minutes or so. It's not a full episode, but it's still amazing. Getting to actually see the 8th Doctor as opposed to just all the audio adventures, which are amazing. But to see that and to have them sort of canonized with him calling out us companions from the audio adventures. Yes. And we also get this glimpse of how bad the Time War actually is. So, yay, Night of the Doctor. So, my number 1 favorite episode of New Who is Day of the Doctor, written by Steven Moffat, and it is the 50th anniversary episode. It has the 11th Doctor, the 10th Doctor, the War Doctor, the Curator, Clara, Queen Elizabeth I, Kate Stewart, Osgood, Zygons, Dialects, yeah, and all 13 Doctors. Gotta love it. Yes, it's amazing. It is the best tribute, I think, to Doctor Who and what it stands for. It made nods to previous episodes throughout the entire of Classic Who, all the way back to the beginning. And it did it in several ways, just in ways that were both subtle and not so subtle. Everything from just the things in Unit's Black Archives, like the giant bulletin board with all the companions on it and the Doctors and his past adventures, to getting to see Unit and seeing the descendants of the Brigadier and Osgood. We get to bring back the Daleks. We get to see the Time War finally. Just so much hype about the Time War throughout the entire of New Who, and finally getting to see part of it and see what the Time War changes the Doctor into. I love the fact that it did all this while still giving the show a direction to the future. Like, it wasn't just about the past, it was about where the Doctor is now and progressing the character, progressing the show, giving it hope. We're gonna go find Gallifrey now, guys. It's kind of sad we didn't actually find Gallifrey in season 8, but that would have been way too quick, so obviously. I love the way the music even subtly played back to previous things. It definitely played back to, like, the 10th Doctor's theme, and hearing the original intro, like the original theme song in the beginning with the black and whiteness, and the first shot of the Totter's Lane. All of it. The fact that Ian is now the head governor. Yeah, Ian's now the head of the Coal Hill School. Yes, awesome. So just all the subtle references, but still taking on this very big, very challenging thing, and not overdoing it, but making it feel real. And yes, also the painting, Gallifrey Falls, actually looks three-dimensional in a two-dimensional, like, screen. That was amazing, just the way they changed the camera angle and moved it, and you could see it become 3D. That was so cool. So yeah, there you go. My top 10 favorite stories from New Who. So let me know in the comments what you thought. What are your favorite episodes? Did you absolutely hate any of these? What did I forget? So thanks for watching, guys.